So, welcome to Central Tower Munich. So we just starting to move the company here. Still being renovated. We're on the 4th floor, but we have access to this floor whenever we want. So it turned out pretty well. And this is the first MODX meetup that we're having here. I want to thank everyone for being here. Tonight we've got special guest Gauke van Sturk, flew all the way here from Netherlands, and our other special guest is of course the Jens Kulzer, who is going to be speaking on behalf of SEDA.digital, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm Ben Davis. Most of you already know me. I'm not going to say too much about myself. I'd like to start out with what's been happening within the MODX world over the past few months. There's been a lot that's been going on behind the scenes. A lot of work on the MODX 3 with a great initiative by Sturk, and we're all appreciative of that. But let's start off with the bad news. So we had a new release come out just recently, and it is a security release. So there's a couple of bad vulnerabilities that have been discovered. Thankful to our community who is participating and maintaining that or controlling that very regularly, and because MODX for security is for MODX an extremely important value. I believe that it was reported like on the 11th, I think, and on the 12th they already had the release out. I'm pretty sure that was the way it was communicated, but I don't know.
I'm denying everything.
So we've got some, there's a remote script execution that can take place, and also if it gets hacked, people can delete files and directories on your web space. So it's very recommended to update as soon as possible. If you have a more recent version of MODX, you can go to the repository and pull out the files that have been changed and just replace those. Here's a link to that I will post later, or you have access to that later. But we recommend to just update the normal way that you would. Something else exciting has happened that was released by MODX, and there's no video here. It's Fred is the friendly front-end editor has been released by MODX, which gives the content editors a dynamic way to add content in the front end without having to log into the MODX manager. And there's supposed to be a video here.
Is Wi-Fi working? Very good.
Oh, the router's not here.
Down.
Wait.
All the way down there.
Yeah, okay. How many have seen this? Meet the Fred? So, about half of them. So let's, or if I can't really explain it very well in words, let's just play the video and then we can discuss. So in the front end of the website, you can log in and you have access to templating options. So maybe for many, this is the front end editor they've always been dreaming about. And how do I get that? Basically, it takes the front end through JavaScript and it saves information in the content field in the MODX database, as far as I know. I haven't personally played with it yet. It has a template that's based on Twig, maybe?
No,
No?
just chunks.
Just chunks,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a link here. Where you can read more about it here, some features. And I think for a lot of people it's going to be really interesting. Maybe it's going to bring, maybe bring more people to the MODX ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, it really contributes to the creative freedom thingy. It's still MODX. I think it's a nice addition for us all. And I agree with what you're saying. It might bring a lot of new people to MODX. Yeah.
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 It's a good way to create some buzz from
Yeah,
MODX before MODX 3 comes
Really?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's free.
It's free. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's free.
So this one is free, and some plugins might be premium. So yeah.
So it's going to allow some people maybe an easier way to add content to their site than using the MODX Manager. I think there are a lot of MODX developers that might not do a lot of form customization in MODX.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens if people use it.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about what's going to happen in a year from now. If you bring this to the table and then the project gets killed at some point because who knows why, and then
Yeah.
your whole MODX framework is based on then this one tool.
Yeah. Well, you know who said it, but it's XJS free, so it's ready for the future. If we're ever moving from XJS, then the thread is still safe. So I think that's a wise decision by them. Yeah, it has its use cases.
Yeah, it's just brand new, so
Yeah.
you don't know
Yeah.
what the actual reaction is from the community yet. 'Cause
I got my hands on an early beta version, and it did look as nice as this one, and but it worked, but it was kind of a hassle. But this version, it really works, so I think it's a really solid job. Yeah, yeah. So it's actually a nice thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Welcome, Fred.
Try it.
Yeah, try it out. Like I said, it's free for downloading, for testing. There's a get started button, so well, it doesn't really get me anywhere.
Really?
It just works.
It just works. Fred says GitHub is a good boy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a repository, so check it out, people. Let's do it. So another fresh off the press, there is a meetup in Moscow taking place, and it is on September, the 29th of September at 2 o'clock. It's just a one afternoon event.
Yeah.
And there's also a website with more information, MODX.Moscow, which is a very cool domain name. And we recommend anyone that's ever wanted to go to Moscow, Russia, and likes MODX, they can combine those two things and have a great time, right?
Well, tell us about your experience in Minsk.
And Minsk isn't Moscow.
No, it's
but,
kind of Russian.
Yeah, so I went to the Mod Expo in Minsk, and the people were very nice. It was all modern. It was, I mean, when I was there, it was pretty great. I heard in summer it's actually very pretty there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I felt totally welcomed. You know, I got ripped off with the taxi going into the city. I think we paid probably about 10 times too much. And then the taxi driver didn't know what hotel we were going to, even though I showed her the piece of paper it was on. And so we ended up visiting about 2 or 3 hotels before she found the right hotel. Maybe that's why it was so expensive.
Yeah.
But it became very difficult to get out of the taxi. But
We always ask Ivan to rent a taxi.
yeah. But it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, we had the
Met
same
some nice
experience. We were kind of
With the taxi.
no, taxi experience, no. But when we first went there, we were like, oh, we don't know what to expect here, and especially you with your American roots, it's kind of well, you don't know what to expect. But yeah,
Yeah.
the people were very
I wish I had a
friendly.
Canadian passport.
Yeah.
But that was okay.
Yeah.
No one stopped me.
No.
Like, you American. And one thing that was interesting was that whatever Google told you was the name of something was definitely not the name that was written on the building or on the sign. So,
Yeah.
so we ended up walking around in circles a few times. Yeah. But it was fun. It was an adventure.
Yeah.
And the community there was very nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, if you're like to go to Russia, I mean, World Cup, World Cup fans.
And so, who wants to go?
You need to think about it. I mean, just released just now. You know, I can't make commitments that quickly. So tonight, what's on board? So we've got Gauke here, who's going to introduce us MODX 3 and the new features to MODX and why we should all get on board and help make MODX 3 as good as it can be. Although it's basically almost there, right? That's a pretty good.
Feature-wise, it is.
Yeah, feature-wise.
Bug-wise, it isn't.
Okay, so
Yeah.
no bugs at all. And he's going to present about why we should be moving to MODX 3 in the near future. And we're going to also be getting a demo of that, of MODX 3. We also have Jens here, like I previously said. He's going to be showing us how to use MODX, or how to create a Vagrant environment for your local development workflow. And then we'll try to combine those two things together at the end. And so if you bring out your laptop, you can also participate and test out MODX 3 on your computer and give feedback. Stirk appreciates any kind of feedback that you get. And that's about it for now. So I think I'll sit and enjoy the talks that are coming. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. No. And nothing.
Give it a second.
Ooh. You need to you just need to increase your resolution.
Oh.
Yeah, because it scaled down automatically. Just go full HD or best for TV.
No! Best for TV.
Oh.
That's
We're
fine.
going to
That's
that.
fine. Look how pretty that is.
Alright. So I'm
So, Gauke, ladies and gentlemen.
thanks for having us again. We love it in Munich. So really nice to be able to talk about MODX 3. We started the MODX 3 project earlier this year, and we started up like we kind of start off every project we do for a client. So we need kind of a plan, we need money, funding, and then after everything is sorted out, then we can actually start doing something. Because without any of those previous things I mentioned, you can't really do anything. So we started off with the plan, and the MODX 3 plan, which I wrote, contained 5 things. So it was a login screen, because that's where your experience with MODX really starts, besides the setup, of course. A new dashboard, because that's where clients really get a first impression of MODX. UX improvements, the whole experience of MODX, everything you're doing, editing content, uploading pictures. That's all visual stuff, the things you see when using it, and there was also some under the hood stuff, namely extract dependencies. And extract dependencies, kind of a technical thing, but I'll explain later. And the last one is kind of vague, because it's extra added features. So that could be anything. So let's see what we did. The login screen. So it's it's a customizable thing really, because that's more from agencies such as ourselves and maybe freelancers and people like you really. I've seen a lot of customized login screens with your logo on it, with some extra text on how to engage with your service desk or support desk or whatever. So we wanted that to be included in MODX itself, so you don't have to change the core. And well, we wanted it to be prettier. And we improved the forgot password flow, which wasn't really compliant with the regulations we have in the EU right now. Because if you did a forgot password thing in MODX, you just got a password in your email, and that's not totally allowed anymore. So you know, with a new flow, you get an email in your email box. You click the link, and you have to enter your new password twice. So now it's how it should be. Oh, maybe I should show the login screen. Mm-hmm. So this is the flow really. If there's anyone in here who likes CSS animations and stuff like that, then maybe you have an opinion about everything happening here. So if you have an opinion, please feel free to share that opinion on GitHub. Just create an issue, and we'll see what we can do. So the dashboard. I have to admit that a lot of people said, why in the world are you changing the login screen and the dashboard and not this and this and that? And we were like, well, it's pretty easy to change, and it has a really big impact on your experience on MODX, especially if you're new to MODX. So that's why we're doing it. And the dashboard really was something we didn't like. And I think a lot of you don't like the dashboard. I mean, if you install MODX and you watch the dashboard, first you see a list of exploits and all the updates you have to do. You see a list of news messages from MODX.com and some edited documents and people who are online. And the people who are online is usually you. So not very helpful. So we decided to redesign the dashboard, add some new widgets to it, but also keep it backwards compatible. So any widget you use currently, for example the update thingy you guys have from SEDA, it still works in MODX 3. So we made some designs. These designs are made by Rinse van der Brug, who actually graduated cum laude this week. So kudos cheers to Rinse. There were a lot of designs, and we ended up with this demo. I'm not sure if it's a movie or a screenshot. It's a screenshot. So this is where we ended up now. In this presentation you will see a lot of screenshots, but they are from different versions of MODX 3. That sounds really silly, but we had a lot of building stages in the process, and I was kind of lazy and I just left the images in there. This screenshot is about the dashboard. What you see here is, I actually thought this was a movie, but it isn't. So all the widgets you see here can be resized. They can be dragged and dropped. You can add new widgets, and that really makes it easy to customize it. Also what we added is that you can limit the freedom here for certain users. So if you have a client and you think like, well, I make a custom dashboard like we always do for the client for a certain user group, then you can also lock the dashboard. So you see the resize buttons and the remove button here. You can set a user setting, and then the client isn't able to change it anymore. So you can force the dashboard up on your client. UX improvements, really much needed. There are a lot of silly things happening in MODX when you're working on it. A lot of those things is not something we as developers and creative people really see on a daily basis, but believe me, when a client touches MODX, they see a lot of weird stuff happening. Certain things which take a lot of time to do. For example, if you upload an image, best example is first you click the insert image button, then you click the browse button, then you browse to wherever you want to go, then you click upload button. No, you first do a right click button on a folder, or you click the upload button, then you click the upload button, then you get a queue of images, then you click the upload button, then you select the images you want to upload, then you see a queue of your files, then you click the upload button again to upload the whole queue. And when you finish, you can close, and then you select the image you just uploaded. And sometimes you have to refresh the folder you just uploaded to, and then you have to browse all the way to the folder again, which you just uploaded. Insane. So, stuff like that. So we changed the way you can upload. We changed the Uber bar a little to make it more useful. The Uber bar is the search feature in the manager if you log in there, which we find very useful, and a lot of our clients find it useful as well. But the one feedback we always got was, why are there only 5 results of my resources? Well, you can change that now in the system settings, so it's better. Alright, last but not least, the content field. When you're on a lower resolution, like all these MacBooks I see here, when you're on a MacBook and a native resolution and you edit a resource in MODX, then you see the content field like below the fold, which is kind of stupid because it's the most important field of the whole manager and you can't see it. So we fiddled around with it a little. So this was the first mock-up. This was a bit enthusiastic because we just had a title and a content and we thought, screw it, we'll just move away all other fields and this is the important stuff. And then we did some other things and we ended up with, does anyone here use Alfred app? Oh, thanks Chris, you saved me. I asked the same thing in Köln and everybody was like, what? Alfred? What the hell is it? But I think most of you know what Spotlight is in macOS. Well, Alfred and Spotlight are about the same. You hit Command Spacebar and you can search
No, it's not
something.
the same.
No, I know. yeah. Alfred is way more powerful. And I said to Rinse, I said, I want it in there. I love it and I want that in MODX. And he made it and I was like, nah, that's weird. Let's remove it again. So we did some more designs and the actual the one which is now in MODX 3 looks totally different, but I just want to let you know that everything you see in MODX 3 right now had like 100 iterations. So if you have any questions about why we did certain stuff, just ask, because I can probably explain why certain decisions were made. Alright, so this kind of is not the last design, but the second last design. So we were working on this on the tree, and there were a lot of people who said, I don't like the tabs, they just don't fit. If you have like resources, elements and files, then in some languages it's a bit cramped and it just doesn't fit. So we said, okay, we make horizontal tabs. So we had resources, elements and files, and if you click elements, then this would expand like that. Well, I did a poll on Twitter and I lost, so we went back to
Nothing.
I don't know. It should show vertical tabs, but it's the same screenshot, but then with the vertical tabs you're used to. Oh, this one. Yeah. So we have vertical tabs again. That's what it is. You also see that that the context, the culture key is in here. That's something we use a lot. That's optional, but for us it's really useful that a client can actually see what the language of a certain context is. Okay, so are we there yet? Well, this is not the final design, but it's something. What you see, for example, here is that the collapse button is currently here. There's a lot of discussion about that button because currently you can collapse the tree with a thingy here. We're probably going to do both because the whole community is divided by this stupid button, and we'll just make it a system setting so you can decide yourself whatever you want. You see new menus, and you see that the top bar is moved to the left, so we have more space there, and there's more focus on content. You also see that we have less buttons. We have a more button over there with stuff you don't really use regularly, and we have a very big controversy on the right. The widgets on the right, I'm not sure what we should do with them. I really like them, but I also heard people that they don't really need it after creating a resource. So we could kind of make like default form customization, where on create you would see them, and after on edit you won't see them. But yeah, so I would love everybody's opinion on that so we can improve it. But this is the general idea of MODX 3. So we removed the top bar, moved it to the left. We have more screen real estate for what matters most, and which is content. And well, the design is different. Chris.
Question. With Xcos like content blocks,
Yeah.
there would right now look like that the width of content blocks is shrinked. So
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
why
Yeah, Mark said the same.
Yeah.
He said he was working on it. I'm not sure what it means yet.
yeah.
We'll see. And
Okay.
if we need to change something, I think we'll all agree that we kind of need to
But
keep
I
the
think
content
he's
blocks in
already
mind.
working on it, and he puts the content field underneath everything. And
Oh.
another option to place it inside. So you
Okay.
can, you have a system setting and you can choose it. But that was the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
status.
Okay. Interesting.
Like from my experience, like
Marcus was like. Marcus.
like the first box on the right hand side is really useful, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess like the next two ones
Or weird.
could be something that would be hidden in the tab or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're likely back to the old design a
Yeah.
little bit.
There's also this template preview feature which Najir made, which isn't in the current build, by the way, but it should still be merged. But that also helps to remove certain stuff here, because you'll see it later. The template preview, when you add a resource by clicking the plus button and then adding a resource, then first you get a dialog window, which asks for the most important stuff, like the page title, what template you want to choose, and you can actually see a visual representation of your templates. And after that, you get into this window. So that template preview, which is also optional, by the way, enables you to actually remove a lot of stuff from here, which sorry. So you need less fields in this screen. So yeah, Marcus.
Yes, pretty nice in my
Yeah.
opinion. But I wonder if you have any mobile optimizations on the manager itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have?
We can show it in a demo after Jens's presentation. There was a lot of work done on the mobile version. The hard part was the top menu, because we have a lot of buttons here and it's a mess. So Vasily, who did most of that work, he worked a lot on it, and I think it's okay now. But it does work way better than it did.
All right. I would assume that the hard part is that we have no right click in mobile.
Yeah, that's what we changed. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
there's more plus buttons and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
But system settings or something you can change with a inline click.
I think so. No, I don't think. I don't know.
Okay, alright.
Good one.
Like everything with an inside click.
Yeah, I know. It's
working
the
mobile.
most stupid grid I have ever seen. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it should just have an edit button.
Yeah.
And is all that stuff using still the old style div hell from the XJS? So there's no performance improvement with that.
Kind of. Vasily did a lot of improvements, but it has not. It's not always has to do with XJS. We actually tried to remove it. No, actually we tried to upgrade XJS 3, which we have right now, to version 6. Yeah, ambitious, right? He spent the day on it, and he was like, "Oh man, we have to rewrite everything in order to make this work." So I said, "Well, let's not do that, because then we might as well just ditch the whole thing." You love my XJS. And there's another issue with XJS 6. It has a different license, so we can't really incorporate it in MODX, because MODX is open source and XJS isn't really open source.
So another good reason to drop
Get rid
that
of
out.
Yes, yes. So, but what we did do was, the current MODX Revolution with XJS has a lot of typical XJS stuff in it. So nearly every box like this has this weird title thing in it. Well, this makes sense. I mean, this is a publishing section, template section, and this is a menu section. But also on the dashboard, you had a lot of widgets, and every widget had a title. and that's useless because you know exactly what a widget is because of what's in the widget. So we removed a lot of visual XDS stuff, so which makes it way prettier.
I was just thinking about the tree, which is quite a lack of performance if you have a lot of resources and
I know.
levels in there. And,
I had a comment in Cologne where somebody said like it would be really cool if we can if you collapse the tree that it also does not load anymore, so it doesn't cost any resources. And I was unable to answer the question if it really did or did not actually load the tree. So after collapsing it, I think because I think it still loads it, but I'm not sure. Oh, there it goes again.
Want some coffee? I can get some coffee.
So, okay, on to the next one. Extract dependencies. So, who here has ever used Composer? Nice, cool. Okay. So, in short, Composer is this package library where you can easily install your dependencies using a single command line thing. I also saw you working on some Composer stuff today, so we'll have that in your presentation, I guess. So MODX has a couple of dependencies in it, like XPO, of course, for the database stuff, Smarty for templating, PHP Mailer, PHP Dump, the AWS SDK for S3 access. All those things were in the MODX core, which made it heavier, and it also made it harder to update, because you just need a complete MODX update. So what we wanted was to remove those from the MODX core in the vendor folder, as Composer names it, so you can independently update those packages when you want to, but also to make the core lighter, so which it now is. We also added some new dependencies, and these 3 dependencies actually require like 15 other dependencies, but I'll explain these dependencies later. So let's see. Oh yeah, and it's now Composer installable, and I think you're going to show that?
yeah, we will see that.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this, I can skip this. Fly system, I'm really happy about Fly system. Fly system is a very big project on GitHub, and I'm not sure if it says anything on the slides, but it has like thousands of stars on GitHub, a lot of people contributing to it, and what it offers is like it replaces the part in media sources in MODX where it handles files. So in MODX 3, when you upload a file, it goes through Fly system, which means more speed, more reliability, and especially, and most of all, it has a lot of options. Because right now we can either do file system or S3, I think that's it. Do we have anything else for creating a media source? No?
Not officially.
No, not officially, yeah. And we can only use version 2 of Amazon S3 currently, because if you try version 3, you're fine. So, Fly system kind of replaces that functionality and offers us the ability to use Fly system adapters. And I'm not sure if the adapters, oh yeah, here's the adapters. So you can still use your local file system like you do by default. You see AWS S3, which is way faster. You can finally use it how we should use it. Well, Azure from Microsoft, Rackspace, SFTP, also very useful. And this is just the official adapters. There's a load of adapters. So Fly system kind of opens the whole world for MODX if you have to talk about file storage and what do you call it again? What is S3? It's content delivery networks. Everything can be used now. Template preview, kudos to Munich. This is what it looks like. So you have this new quick window where you enter the title, select the document type and the root, and you select the root here, and you see a list of templates here, and you can search for it or click it, and then you shoot preview of the template. And this is one thing that we have had a lot of issues with clients of us, because we have a lot of clients who only do like content once a month, and they have no idea which of those 10 templates, what it looked like, what they should use it for. So this kind of fixes that problem. First of all, it loads way faster than creating a new page, because it has to reload. And you skip an extra reload of the page when you change the template, because usually when you create a new page and you change the template, the whole page reloads, template variables change, and now you just select the template here and you enter the new page with the selected template. So it saves you a lot of time, and but again, it's optional, creative freedom, and some people don't like it, so you can use it if you like. The functionality behind this is that every template has an extra field where you can upload an image. That's it. It's not like we're rendering templates to save an image or something. And Jens was first.
Yeah, you said it is optional,
Yeah.
and but what will be the default in the MODX 3 release?
I don't know, maybe
I'm
we'll
pretty sure
hold-
there's a lot of discussion about that, as far as I know the community, and yeah.
So, do we need to do something?
Yes.
No, that's
Quick! So, there's a GitHub issue which I made, which mentions that I think that we should have some more options when installing MODX, and some of those options should be default values. And I think that one of the things which should be in there is stuff like this. For example, do you want the template preview or not? Do you want the media manager or not? Do you want whatever? So what language do you want to use? What local do you want? Everything, time zone, stuff like that just needs to be in the setup, I think. We did create a new design for the setup, but it's not included in MODX 3. Maybe we'll do it, we'll see. It's not a lot of work. But I think it really should be in there, because it makes setting up MODX way easier, and that could solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I would say every choosable option should be something like beginner friendly
Yeah.
with the default values. And if someone says, I don't need that, as they do usually, he might be an expert, and he might be able to change the system setting afterwards to his personal needs. So it should be user and beginner friendly with the defaults.
I agree.
So we want to get more people attracted to MODX.
Yes.
So we talked about that before a lot of times.
Yeah. Christian.
the parent resource selector raises some fear when thinking about projects with like a few hundred thousands of resources.
Yeah.
Is that considered, tested, and does it work with that, or is it like, that might take a minute to load and might not be usable?
Sure. I prefer the old way to click on the tree.
Yeah, that's another option, of course. Yeah.
So I think the answer is no.
No. Okay.
Maybe we should do like maximum of 10 results and then search.
Yeah, or just the first level of,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
or like the first 2 levels or
Yeah.
something. Because if you nest, I don't know how deeply nested that loads the resources. I mean, there I see 2 levels.
Yeah.
Is that all,
I
or
don't know.
yeah?
But isn't there like Superbox Select?
Yeah.
TV?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
That's
That could solve it.
pagination.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that a model the same as for the quick create in the context menu?
No, it's different. I
It
think
should
we
be,
removed
because then you already have
Nobody
to select
needs
the
that.
parent. So yeah.
Oh, maybe it replaces it. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's
of
even
course.
better. Yeah, then you have
But
the
quick
root
create
select.
doesn't make sense
No.
for me because it doesn't stick to any form customization
Yeah.
you ever do, and that would solve the problem with the parent selection maybe.
Yeah.
And it's more logic to create at the place where you want and not create on the top and then
Yeah, I agree.
choose it.
That's what I would do as a content manager. Yeah. Did your pull request get merged yet with the tree, or was it yours? With the tree, with the buttons, with the hover?
No, not yet.
Oh.
You wanted me to work on it, and I didn't have time because of the.
Sorry. Yeah, that was it.
You know the data privacy thing some months ago.
Yeah, time and stuff. Yeah.
There is a question from the live stream.
Oh.
Not about that one.
Oh.
Somebody said that it looks great and solves some real problems. But for the side panels on the resource page, is it possible to move that to different regions with form customization?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
It is. Yeah, it's a region. And if I'm lying now, we should make it a region. Okay. Next
And
one.
hello from Ivan and Fabian.
Hey! Hey! We'll see them in Moscow. Better upload workflow. Yeah, I'll just show it and you'll see it. And this is from a tree, by the way. So, I'm not sure why I made directories in the screencast, but I did. Oh my god, oh yes. What the? Saves so much time. What just happened? Yeah, I love it. And it's so fast. And it still checks all the, does all the checks which you're used to do, like the size and if the file type is accepted. So, I really like that one.
Question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there something like file name sanitization?
No, nothing was added like that. No.
Because just today, again, I had a client uploading some weird file which killed the sidebar tree completely.
Yeah, I mean,
We had this before.
what do you use again for that? What's the extra call? No, the different one. You have a different one in Germany, especially.
That is translate, but that is
Yeah.
for resource ADS, for
Oh.
file names.
Oh,
That,
okay.
yeah,
Those
file
file
slug.
trans-
No, file slug,
file
okay,
No,
yeah.
file sluggy.
Yeah.
That's yours, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we should just add it to the core now.
Yeah,
Should be able to
that's what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another simple thing which might sound silly but which was very annoying to a lot of us. So in MODX Revolution we have HTML emails in the system settings, we have plain text emails in the system settings, and they're all English by the way. So what we did was we used a Mogrifyer. It's a library, a Mogrifyer, and it allows you to just write your HTML and have a separate CSS file for styling the email, and Mogrifyer merges that together so that all the CSS in the CSS file is added as inline CSS for your HTML email, so it works in every email client. I mean, yeah, that's newsletter hell creation, you know, so we used Mogrifyer to solve that. We tried to change all emails to HTML emails, and they are all in lexicons now, so no more messing around with emails in your system settings. All the content is now in your lexicons. The logo here is the same logo as on the login screen, and you can change it by using a system setting. So you can just make it your client's logo or something. For the extra maintainers here, so anyone who has never created an extra here, and for you an extra is like a plugin in WordPress, is an extra in MODX. Whenever we publish an extra, we have to add 3 files: the changelog, the readme, and a license, and it's plain text. So you just can't style it. It's just plain text. That's it. So we added another dependency to make it markdown compatible, and now we can add markdown files as a changelog, readme, and license file, and we can finally style them. So they become a bit more readable.
One question.
Yeah.
There's another text you have to edit when you publish an extra for the website.
Yeah.
So if you officially publish an extra there, then you have to copy over all the text from there to that website again. I think this is not Markdown.
No.
So.
But Markdown doesn't look bad in plain text.
Maybe you can copy it from here.
Yeah,
I know, but we can change that unfortunately.
Yeah, of course not.
So what's next? Well, it's easy. I don't know. Plans changed all of a sudden, like Ben mentioned. So, to give you an idea of what needs to happen to release MODX 3. So we did release the alpha build, which is out, and you can test it. But before we can actually move on and focus all our energy on MODX 3, is that we first have to finish 2.6.4, which was done. Then 6.5 happened, which was another week of slowdown. Then we have to go to 2.7, which has currently a feature freeze, which means that everything which is now in 2.7 is what it is, and that's it. And it should be tested and then released, which was supposed to happen 3 weeks ago, but I don't know what happened. When 2.7 is finished, which is kind of a cool release, by the way, it has a lot of fixes and some nice new features. But then the hardest part comes, and that's that we have to merge 2.7 into 3. And the problem with that is that if you get a Git tree right now, we started up with MODX Revolution, I think 2.5.8 when we started with 3. Then we started our own branch, which was MODX 3. And MODX 3 had all these branches for all the features, and it was all merged. And in the meantime, the 2 branch also continued. And we at this very moment we have 2.7 and 3, and now they have to be merged again. And that's kind of hard because a lot of stuff was also changed in 2.7, which is also changed in 3. So it really comes down to a big effort of our integrators team to do this. They were confident that they could, but it will take some time. So in the meantime, we have to, as a community, test an alpha and the polishing. Oh, I thought it was snowing, but it's rain. Yeah, so it now comes down to testing MODX 3, testing the current build, fix those bugs, and if we do that, then we can do another build and test that build and fix those bugs, and rinse and repeat till we finally have the MODX 3 version out. So that might take, I believe it will happen this year, but it might take a couple of months. To encourage testing and bug fixing, the people from the Cologne Meetup said that they were afraid that not enough testing would happen. Well, I said, well, a lot of testing is happening. I mean, check GitHub. I showed Ben today that in the last 7 days there were like 10 pull requests to fix bugs in version 3. Oh, that's a lot. Those fixes also need testing because somebody who makes a fix and does a pull request to MODX 3 can't actually merge it because somebody else has to test it. So a lot of collaboration is needed there. But to encourage fixing more bugs, there will be a MODX bug hunt soon-ish. I don't know when, probably after the summer, I think, maybe September, and then we can make big steps forward. If you want to stay in the loop on MODX 3, you can still follow modx3.org/updates. I'm not doing my weekly updates anymore because there aren't any, and it's not really cool to talk about bug fixes. But if a new build comes out, I will share it on modx3.org, and you can follow me on Twitter. And that's it. Really, that's MODX 3. And I hope we can see some GitHub activity from all of you. Any questions? Okay.
There's one silly question actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody asked, where did you get your polo? Sure.
It's a Dutch brand called Vanguard, I think. So any Dutch store probably has it. Yeah. So I have a next slide, which is demo time, but I'll do that after Jens's presentation. Marcus.
I have a question. As I understood, this is MODX 3.
Yep.
It's the next major release of MODX. I have 2 questions. First is, what about compatibility between MODX 2 implementations, websites, and MODX 3? What is the upgrade part? How much work has to be done to get a finished MODX 2 website running on MODX 3? That's one. And the second, what is the longer term roadmap you follow with MODX? Because as I understand, you took action in various parts, but not in the whole system itself. When I compare this step, which is also a major step, from let's say Drupal 7 to 8, there's a huge breakup with Every technology changed, very streamlined and very much focused on standards.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this will happen to MODX.
Yeah. Good questions. I should have already said that in the presentation, but I didn't. So on your first question on the update part, so MODX 3, we wanted MODX version 3 from a marketing perspective. You know, we need version 3 because it's a long time ago since version 2. So, and then from that point we started thinking about what are points where we need action now. That's the stuff we did in the plan. If we stick to semantic versioning, and semantic versioning means that you can only go a major version up if there's a major change which breaks backwards compatibility. So our initial idea was to break backwards compatibility using the dashboard. This sounds really silly, by the way. We were trying to find ways to break backwards compatibility because that would give us version 3. We failed because the dashboard is still backwards compatible. But along the way, a lot of stuff changed. So I think, for example, if you would update to MODX 3, I think your media sources will break, which is kind of an issue because every website uses them. But it's really easy to fix those. So it's a breaking change, but it doesn't take you hours or something. It's probably 2 settings or something. And maybe we can even fix that by when running the setup, because we can change a lot of things when running the setup. Other things that will change are extras. A lot of extras will break, especially extras which have which work with their own database tables, because that's all changed. And that kind of hooks into your story about Drupal, that they were working on standards and stuff. We changed more stuff under the hood than we planned to, especially the composer stuff and the extracted dependencies. It finally allowed us to use namespaces in code, which is silly because they are around forever. But that also means that all those extras with database functionality, they will break. Mark did a lot of research on that, Mark Hamstra, and he wrote down some stuff on how to fix those extras, which is actually very easy. But still, it will break backwards compatibility. So we still have to do a real big shout out to all the extra developers, like, fix your extras. So in an ideal world, all extras will be fixed, but that's insane. That will not happen. So I think if we look at extras in general, then we have a lot of extras right now, and a lot of old extras which still work but aren't maintained anymore. I think MODX 3 will also help in cleaning up the extras a little, because all the extras which are maintained, which are usually the better ones, will stay there because all the maintainers are active, and a lot of those old ones will not show up in MODX 3 anymore because they are incompatible. First question, how will the upgrade path be? I honestly think that it will just be the regular setup as you're used to, and that some stuff will break, but if we work together on that, I think we can nail down all those issues which will break your website beforehand, so all issues are described beforehand. For example, the media sources. If a media source breaks, oh, you have to do this and that. If you had S3 and it isn't working anymore, well, it's probably because of something. So yeah, it will not be a regular update like 2.6.4 to 2.6.5. It will take some more work. I think you have to compare it to when we had to update to 2.2 to 2.3. I think that's when some shit happened. I think it will feel like that. Yeah, but we're trying to minimize breaking stuff.
All right.
Yeah. On question 2. What do we have planned for the future, and what comes after MODX 3? So MODX 3 was an in-between release to make it, a lipstick release really, and make it prettier again. The thing which comes after MODX 3 is that we will create a new REST API for the MODX manager. Currently we have all these connectors and stuff for that, but it's not on current standards. So we want to create a REST API based on standards, based on maybe an existing framework, and everything you do in MODX currently, like saving a resource, deleting a resource, sorting the tree and stuff like that. It all happens through AJAX requests, and those AJAX requests should be routed from the current route to the new REST API. It's like I try to explain it like we're replacing the heart. So it's like a heart transplant. So all the things, all the tubes will be moved from the old heart to the new heart. If we finish that new REST API, which is kind of a big thing, it shouldn't be too hard really, because we all make APIs, I guess, and then I think the hardest part is that we have to connect all the wires again. But if that's finished, then we can start thinking of a complete new manager. Because if we create a new manager, then we just use the new heart and create a new manager around it. And all the stuff which happens in the heart, all the database storing stuff, everything will just be the same, but the whole outside can be changed, like no XDS. So that's what we that's what we have in mind now. That's what we talked a lot about. But that sounds like the reasonable path, and it looks a lot like what Drupal did. Yeah. So we want to go to standards, and
the time estimation for this?
I don't know. Let's first fix this, then finish this, and then we'll see what next. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Directly coming to my mind, if version 3 is a breaking change, which might prevent some sites from being updated because of extras not being compatible, how long, or if is the 2.7 being branch being updated then after that? Is there some plan on
2.7 should happen first.
Yeah, 2.7, but then
security fixes.
We at least need some security fixes
Yeah,
or bug fixes backported.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, and I think that's because I think most of us believe that we should keep on patching that because,
we will end up with a lot of sites not being updated.
Not sure how long, but my mind now says like 1 or 2 years that we have to keep it patched. Yeah. We just can't leave it alone somewhere. I think the same happened to Evolution. That's a different story, but
yeah, but I think it's a good idea to have a plan in advance to let's say it's officially updated for at least 1 year, and after that maybe some sub-community evolves like with the Evo and keeps on patching that.
I totally agree. Yeah.
But I guess that is just a commitment that the LLC could do.
Yeah. Integrators team maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Alright.
Well, backporting some bug fixes and something like that is not a real issue.
And some might even fix themselves because we have the no, we don't have separate dependencies because that's in free. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to Jens then.
Well, why don't we want to take a break first?
Yeah.
We could
Get some water or beer or whatever.
Toilet. Some fresh air. Oh yeah.
Rainbow.
So welcome back to our live stream and live here at the MODX Meetup in Munich. Next up is Jens Kulzer, who's going to show us some Vagrant super magic.
I think it's a good idea to just continue with Gauke's ending, where he wanted us all to test MODX 3 and to write issues on some bugs. And it's always a good idea to keep your local or your computer free from testing stuff. So if you test it too much with some fancy new stuff, then maybe you poison your system, and maybe you can't switch back that easily as you would like. So for example, if you I used to develop locally with a MEMP, a local web server starting in your host system. Then maybe you need to switch some settings to have this test running, and then afterwards everything else is broken and you have to switch back, and maybe you have to install software, another PHP version or something like that, and that's a lot of problems popping up if it's not matching exactly your local MEMP environment. And if you want to do a lot of testing of different versions, maybe side by side, then you're fucked up as well. So we at SEDA.digital decided to keep our computers clean and do all the developing stuff inside virtual machines, which is quite easy if you have the correct setup, which in turn was a lot of work to configure. And we use Vagrant as the tool of choice, which is in the end just a few configuration files, and then it starts up your virtual machine, and if you did it right, everything's starting, and then you have a local web server running inside the virtual machine, which you can access from your browser, but it does not touch your host system. So you can just destroy the virtual machine and everything is clean again. And that's one of the most important things about this virtual machine approach. Another thing is if you're working in a team, maybe 2 guys or 3 or 4, maybe all over the world working on the same project. Of course, exchanging code is easy with Git, but if you want to make sure that everyone has the same environment developing where he's developing on, then you can't do that with local installations with MEMP or something like that. And it's pretty easy to share just the configuration files of this Vagrant setup inside your repositories, and then everyone in your team just has to start the virtual machine, and then everyone has the same setup as all the others. And that's a huge benefit if you're working in teams on the same project. Or maybe if you are working on different computers on one project, then it's also easy to just exchange everything, because you just need to pull your Git repository, start the virtual machine, and then everything's fine. Yeah, I want to show you just a small variation of our Vagrant setup, which should enable every one of you to easily and simply test the MODX 3 development branch. And as a side note of this, I will show you how to install the MODX 3 with Composer, which is in the end just a one-liner, which is also on the MODX 3 website, I think. And all the stuff I'm doing in the next minutes is on our public repository, which you can find at git.seda.digital. SEDA.digital and then /SEDA.digital with SEDA in large letters, capital letters, and I'm pretty sure you can read this over there on the right. Then you get to our public repository, and there's a README in the root which tells you about the software requirements you have to fulfill. It's you need VirtualBox on your system, which is providing the virtual machine environment. Then you need Vagrant on your system, which is automating the VirtualBox machine generation. And of course you need Composer, which maybe every developer should already have in place.
Does everybody have the link?
Yeah, but it's not.
If you have confronted with the login screen, you didn't type the correct.
Okay.
It's also in the live stream now shared, so you can click it.
Links und Explore button.
Yeah, first thing we do is just create or use the Composer to download and build the current MODX 3 development branch. If you've ever done this manually via Git, then it's a kind of error-prone maybe for the first time. You have to run a PHP script afterwards, and you have to edit some files, and this is yeah, if you do it the first time, it's kind of boring, just to test a new branch or something like that. So if you just use the Composer, this is doing all the stuff for you. Well, our setup here expects this kind of special folder structure where you clone the repository to one folder, and as a sibling to this folder you will create the MODX 3 folder, which ends up in two separate folders. One is only containing the MODX files, and the other is only containing the web server files, which are running in the virtual machine. And the virtual machine is then accessing the other folder, but you can easily change the contents of the other folder and just put in something there. So the whole setup can be used for nearly everything which needs a local web server. So just replace the contents of the resulting MODX 3 folder with something else you want to run, some PHP files or another web project, and it should be up and running afterwards. Yeah, first thing is to start the Composer command. I already copied that over there in the terminal, and I'm going to start this now. And while this is downloading everything and doing everything, I will start the other thing, which is taking some minutes to download and install as well.
Kannst du die Font-Size noch ein bisschen erhöhen?
Noch höher. Large enough now for everyone in the audience?
Perfect.
No,
Why not?
live stream. And contrast.
Yeah, I can't change it now.
Okay.
So I would advise everyone to, it's just doing downloads and installs there, so there's nothing to see actually there. And the command line is also in the repository README. So I advise you all, and the guys and other persons in the live stream, just try it out and see what's happening. So if you just create a test folder, go in there and then run the Composer command, nothing else on your system will be touched. So everything is happening in the test folder. So let's do it right now. Start it, and I'm really hoping it. Yeah. So it's now downloading and cloning the Git repository. and doing all the fancy stuff, like installing all the dependencies. And yet, cross fingers. So,
Cross fingers!
It's just notices, not errors.
yeah, it should work, but of course you need a composer version greater than 1.2, I think. Otherwise you will end up with some errors like Ben did before.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah, at least we now know that you had to update your composer. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of not interesting here anymore because it's it's already there. So if it's asking you to delete some stuff, you can press yes or no. That doesn't matter. It just cleans up the .git folder in that new folder there, but we won't use it, so it doesn't matter.
But if for testing purposes you want to try pull request, then you would say yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If well, if you want to use that anymore and use the Git features on that, then you should press no, and then you can just update the Git branch there and get the updates there. So we just press no. Okay. Yeah. Now it's building the transport files, and now we are ready. So we now have a MODX 3 file folder in here, and in there the usual MODX files. So that's now our web folder, and now we go to our recently cloned MODX environment, which is a sibling of the MODX 3. As you can see, it's in my PHP Storms folder, and font size again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, and in here, if you did everything that was on the README, including the network setup and something like that, and the Vagrant plugins install, from here on you can just type Vagrant app, and this is now, yeah, it will take some time if you use Vagrant the first time, because it will download this base box. I did that before, and he's just importing it, and then he's installing the LAMP stack on this virtual machine. So this can, of course, if you use it a lot of times, be done better. You can provide a complete LAMP box, which is then downloaded and cached locally. But it's also some kind of nice to have a clean installation of everything, just from some config files. So this is easier to make sure that everyone has the same setup. So otherwise you would need to update the box and then upload it somewhere so that the others can update it, and yeah. And usually you do it just once, and after that it's done, and you just need to update your code repository files of the MODX folder. So you don't need to touch the environment anymore. Yeah. So this is taking some time now. It's usually about 5 minutes, where this process downloads everything and installs everything. So if you have some questions in the meantime, just ask. Otherwise I won't stop talking, and yeah, just waiting for the progress there is. Yeah. So is anyone having problems with doing the steps of that setup right now?
You can close that.
No one? Everything's working as expected? I don't believe that.
You install Vagrant already?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just do vagrant up.
Yeah, if you are interested in seeing what's behind the scenes there, every vagrant setup needs a vagrant file, which is this here. In the end, it's just I think it's Ruby. Yeah, it's Ruby with some special syntax. Syntax is sometimes a little bit not so easy to learn, but it will complain about some syntax errors when you start vagrant up and there's something in there.
It's really fun. Sorry, I know vagrant files, but I never thought what language was. But it's Ruby.
Yeah, it's Ruby. Yeah,
But it's actually not.
or maybe
quite bad.
I don't know.
Okay, so you
exactly.
need to clone that repository from the top.
Yeah.
So
At least the syntax highlighting here works like and maybe it's a Ruby dialect or
that
something.
should
I don't
be
know. It's on top of that file, so yeah.
the README should mention that you need to clone this repository and not the official MODX repository.
Okay, yeah. Of course, that's because there's this repository, the MODX environment repository.
The background file.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, I already changed that sentence because Ben ran into that as well. Yeah. Okay, maybe we should link, build in a link there which points to the same page as well. So
already the git clone with the URL.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we have the environment, which is the repository on that page, and we have the MODX repository, which are now side by side and do not really interfere with each other. So you can also update them separately from each other. Which is, by the way, more sophisticated than our own setup, where we have the environment inside our repositories right now. But we are working on that.
What was the error with when you try to install the Vagrant VB guest plugin, that it says you need to, if you use it, you need to install the same thing?
Switch to another terminal.
And do it again.
And do it in another folder. Yeah, that's kind of a bug. I had to solve that. So if it tells you uninstall something or install something, and you do it in the terminal, and it tells you the same again, then just choose go to another folder and execute that again, or just open another terminal. That should work.
Not in that folder.
Because if you do it in the folder where the vagrant file is, and you type something like vagrant, regardless of the rest of that command, then it first evaluates the vagrant file, and it says, oh, there's something that must be uninstalled.
Okay.
Now you need to vagrant install the
the plugin.
Yeah.
Plugin, because it's trying to.
Okay, yeah, the vagrant file. Well, I would advise everyone who's interested in the technical details to just take a look inside. I try to comment a lot of it, but yeah, it's not so easy to understand as other languages and dialects. But after some digging, it should be straightforward what's happening in this file. The more complex thing is the setup of all the server components, because all the installation going on there was on top of a basic Ubuntu operating system, which is kind of naked, and then there's installed Apache, MySQL, and PHP, so the normal LAMP stack, and this is done via Puppet. Puppet is like an automation tool to reliable configure and reconfigure servers. And this is all located in the server folder, which does all the magic, which has some shell scripts inside and some configuration files. It's too complicated to explain right now, but if you want to change something in there, for example, you need another PHP version, then you just have to change the Puppet manifest here and well, he's defined which services needs to be installed in the virtual machine, which the switch configurations, and yeah. Again, another language you should or should not learn. I gave my best to make it in a general way, so that you just can copy that over and just tweak a little bit to your needs. In the end, it's a LAMP stack. You can also download ready-to-go backend images, which already contain some kind of LAMP stacks, but then you have to pipe in the files you need, and you can't easily change a configuration. And it's much more easier here, because if something goes wrong, then you can just type vagrant destroy, all the virtual machine is wiped away, and then you start again vagrant up, and everything is installed again freshly. So, and it usually takes just a few minutes, and then you're again on track. So, and I think it's over now, and as you can see, the last step, if everything went well, is this funny colored messages here. And this is again giving you the local IP address you had to add to your local host file, because otherwise you won't be able to access your virtual machine with the local MODX Revolution domain. And yeah, we now have a running web server, and this web server is serving our MODX 3, which is in the other folder. And let's have a look. Local MODX Revolution, and now we end up with an error, which is kind of normal because we didn't install MODX right now. So that's the same if you just unzip the MODX installation files somewhere and go to the front end of the web page, then you will always see this because nothing's installed there. So this is quite a good message, because it shows us the web server is running, because this is coming from a PHP file, and so I was happy when I saw that today, first time. Yeah. And now let's start with the setup, because no matter what version you download, you always have to run at least once through the setup, even with the GitHub Composer magic stuff. Because right now our MODX system, which is kind of there, does not know about any database or anything else. So as usually, we have to install it. So let's enlarge that. Large enough? I think so. As you can see, and as Gauke mentioned already, the installer setup needs some TLC as well, and I think it should fit to the rest of the manager design and the login. And
maybe you can show it. It's on modx.org/update, modx3.org/update. The new design is in the last post, I think. modx3.org/updates. And then it's the third one, week 18.
This one.
Yeah. And if you go scroll down, there's some screenshots of the new concept.
Yeah, that's how it will be. Maybe somehow will look in the future.
Yeah, it was a design, so.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. It's not a gallery here, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
You go back.
It's just an image gallery.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the steps are clearer on the top, and in this section it's also clearer on the left.
Yeah. I miss it a little bit more colorful. It should be the blue color or something like that, like on the sidebar.
Yeah, I just asked Vincent, please make a design, and that's what he did, and I gave some feedback, and this is it. So there's not a lot of iterations which went in here.
That's his first step.
Yeah,
It's a
Okay. Yeah, let's do the installation right now here. There's nothing to do on the first screens. Everything can be left in the default values. And this is the only thing where we have to edit something. It's a convention that backend boxes use always the same login names and, if possible, the same passwords. So I made it very easy here. So you can just use vagrant for the 3 input fields here, and then you're happy, because our server environment in the other folder was installed with that setting. So there's already a database there and a database user, and they are named like this. So that's pretty easy. So just type vagrant again. Then we test our database server connection running, and then we create the database, which is actually not creating the database right now, a kind of setup feature I never understood.
It's or test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I choose vagrant, and we can also choose some kind of not existing email address here, because it's not interesting right now. And yeah, some interesting bug last discovered today. If you want to type vagrant again as a password, then you will end up with this is clearing our fields here, and it's showing your passwords must be at least 6 characters long. If you count, vagrant has 7.
Yeah.
So something's going wrong there. So I will choose now vagrant01, and that's making us happy again. And then I'm pretty sure that these lost fields will fuck us up. But let's see. Okay, now we have the connectors and something else page, which doesn't need to be changed right now. And then, yeah, okay, database connection failed because the form forget our inputs. So something which should not happen in the MODX 3 setup.
Yeah.
So we go back again
And the link.
and again,
Isn't that
and
great
then
user experience?
everything again. And funny enough, this is remembering our inputs here right now. This is one password. And now it's working, everything is green, and we click again on install, and
Yeah, that's
The puzzle.
installation summary, installation went
That's definitely a decision.
went well.
Maybe a decision.
And then we can start with the login.
Woo! Let's go skiing.
Yeah, nice picture, by the way.
Is this welcome message, good evening, good morning, and so on, depending on the time?
Yeah. That was one.
I know it's the small thing, but I like it.
One beer evening result of the MODX Meetup in Engelberg in Switzerland. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was very funny.
Just one night and then another day, another
Is
day,
that
another day.
one of the
another day.
pictures we took there? Yeah. So,
Yeah, we shared the design, and then Chris and Jens and
Mark.
Mark made this in a couple of hours with a lot of beer, I guess. Yeah.
No!
No, of course
No
not.
beer.
Water.
Water.
Yeah.
And no water.
Yeah.
yeah, and now we can log in with our new admin user, which was Vagrant again, with the enhanced password vagrant01. And I want to keep logged in, and I go to this return to website is kind of
Yeah, I know.
yeah, right after the setup it's kind of silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Return to website.
Return to
Which
sender.
website if we have multiple contacts?
Yeah. I think it should be the referrer here, but yeah. Okay, this is hopefully the last time this one password thing pops up. And now this comes to the welcome page, which welcomes you to MODX 2.6.
Yeah.
Which is again a little bit funny, but of course there's a lot of details to be tweaked.
It's a page, I think it's the last page being loaded from MODX.com or something, I'm not sure, it's an iFrame.
Yeah, it's an iPhone MODX.com from documentation or something.
Yeah.
From my point of view, there shouldn't be a modal popping up, but instead a big widget on the dashboard which you can click away and then it's gone or it's not gone. So, yeah, we now have a running 3.00 dev system here, and you can play around with that. And if you want to get rid of everything, you can just go to the MODX environment folder, type vagrant destroy, and then again it will to confirm that. Are you really sure? But you can do that safely and just destroy everything, and then the virtual machine is destroyed. The folder is still there, so if you then type again vagrant up, then the web server is running again, but of course with an empty database, so you will have to do the setup again. Yeah, you can easily get rid of everything you prepared for this.
And what you normally do is vagrant hold.
Yeah, you can also, it's a server running, so you can, it's easier to just suspend it or to shut down it and use vagrant up again to load it again. If you do not destroy it, then it will start again and you can continue with working on that. So if you have multiple projects being developed with this environment, kind of environment, then you can simply start developing again after weeks with doing a vagrant up and wait some seconds in this case because nothing has to be installed, and then you can continue with your work where you left it off. So, and now I would like to hand over to Gauke again because there's a running demo here and you can play with it.
Sure.
Any questions?
Just one question for the workflow. You still have to do Gitify backup or
yeah, of course. There's
so
this kind of the whole Git workflow is not
Still the same.
touched by this.
Okay.
So if you want your repository to be Gitified, then again you have to use Gitify, which is installed in that virtual environment. So you can just
yeah, it was just a question. Just
yeah.
if you still have to do the same work.
If you want to use that, you have to go into the virtual machine because from your host there's nothing available. There are ways to access the database from your host, but Gitify is not aware of that, of course, because Gitify needs a running MODX instance, and this is running inside the virtual machine. So yeah, but Gitify should be available here. If not, no. But that's kind of easy to do. Yeah.
It was just the question if that is still necessary.
Yeah. So in our environments, which are a little bit more sophisticated, like this extracted one, we have the Gitify installed there, and we also have Vagrant has some kind of trigger features. So if you, for example, do a Vagrant hold and shut down your virtual machine, then you can automatically call the Gitify extract command, which extracts the files to your folder, and then you just have to do the usual Git magic.
Okay.
Oh my god, what happened to the keyboard?
That's an old one.
No, I mean, where are my keys?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
The German keyboard.
Is it also in here? Where are your files?
No, it's //www.
Like this?
Yeah. But that's just a configuration thing. This is inside the virtual machine. The MODX folder, which is the other folder, is mounted into that virtual machine under /www, which of course can be configured.
Cool. Okay. Chrome or Firefox?
Firefox.
Right.
Really?
So, Thank you, Jens.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing right now is the current build, and Jens was he let me keep the Git files, which is very useful for what I'm going to show you. Because what you see right now is the current build, and the current build doesn't include everything I just presented to you, because some things we made have not been merged into the current build yet. An example is the upload feature. So if I was going to create an folder here like uploads, and I would right click, oh, it is in the build. Well, that's perfect, right? What is not in this build is the preview feature. It isn't. Okay, cool. So anyway, what we have here is the current build. There are some bugs here. Ben already found some, but please let us know about the bugs. And the way to let us know about the bugs is go to github.com/modxcms/revolution, and then you have to sign in. And if you sign in, you can there's hang on.
What are you doing, man?
I'm abusing your Chrome.
That's why I chose Firefox, man.
So when you are logged in, you can create a new issue in the issue tracker.
That's also, yeah, where you can see issues.
Right here. So you can create a new issue, and then just follow this, and you're all fine. So just describe what you saw in what environment. So for example, I was using the MODX 3 alpha build. I was using PHP 7.1 with my SQL version, whatever, and I was using the Firefox daily version, and then this happened. But I expected something else to happen, which was this and that. If you supply all that information, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually just a couple of seconds of work, then people might be able to reproduce it easier and actually fix it. Okay. So what we see here is, well, all I presented. All I want to show you is that some features are missing, and I want to show you how you can add those features. So because you're all comfortable using MODX and a browser, so you can find out all the features I just showed you. So what you're missing here right now is that you don't have the preview feature which Unitier made. And that's because Unitier did a pull request, but it wasn't merged yet. And we can actually find that pull request by going to GitHub again. And then we go to pull requests. And I'm going to do this a bit weird. Just searching for template. Yes, this one, template picker.
Could you increase the font size?
Of course, if I can find a plus sign.
Near the return button.
The what?
Top right, return button.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
And the minus?
Just below the shift.
Oh, right, yeah. Silly.
Hopefully you don't have to write some PHP code, man.
Well, at least you have QWERTY. I was in Belgium last week, and they have AZERTY. So it's even weirder. So no. Okay. So what you see here is that you see this right here. This is the origin of the pull request. So and if you look at the current repository, it's git branch, and then you will see, yeah, this is a bit weird, but it doesn't matter. So what I want to do is I want to add Utzi's repository so I can pull his code. So I'm going to try and show you that. So I'm first going to go to Utzi, and then I'm going to his repositories. Section file. What did you do?
I did nothing.
Well, when I finally find the URL of his repository, I will do git remote add And I will just look up the help file.
So is internet gone or what's happening?
No, it's just very slow.
Microsoft.
Ah.
What are they doing to GitHub?
No, it's Google as well. That's weird.
So maybe everyone of you is just downloading the images? No.
No.
I don't know.
Actually, looks good.
Hmm?
Maybe just turn off Wi-Fi and turn it on again.
Okay.
You know that magical thing.
Okay. Repositories, revolution. Okay, so I want to add Unitier's version of MODX. So then I go here and I copy this URL. But I have to check the documentation because we're adding a remote. And we can give that remote a name. So git remote add, this is the name of the repository, and I will call it just Utsi. So I will do git remote add Utsi. Bastards, to see it somewhere else. Oh, here. And then I will just copy and paste the URL of his repository. And if I now do git remote list,
wird das ja auch
or
auf
git
dem Host
remote or whatever,
passiert.
I will see that I
Also
have
erinnert jetzt auch
composer,
den
Utsi, and origin.
MODX 3 Ordner bei.
I will now fetch Utsi,
Aber ist ja nicht schlimm. Den kann ich ja mit einem
which means that I will get all the branches he made in his own version of the MODX repository. So you see 3.x, but you should also see the template picker right here. So if I copy this and git checkout. Checkout means that you check out the current specific branch, and the branch I want to check out is this, and this will probably break or not. Yes, git checkout, and then I will do force, and force means screw it. I ignore everything and I will just get everything, and I don't care if everything breaks. I will just use everything which is in Utsi/template picker. After doing that, you have to actually build the core again. You can do this by going to the build folder. And you have to copy the. Oh, it's already
You don't
there.
have to copy anything, it's already there.
Yeah.
That's one thing the backend environment does. It pipes the correct config files in there, which was not necessary for this demonstration because we ran the setup and this is creating the files there.
Yeah.
But so.
Okay, the weird thing about building the core is that when you want to build a core, you go into the build folder and you have to, and you see these examples, build.config.sample.php, and you have to make a copy of that file and rename it to the same thing without sample. That's all you have to do. And then you just use the terminal version of PHP and run the transfer.core.php, and then it will die. Oh, I forgot something. Because we're using the composer, and we first need to composer update.
This error message is coming from the environment, which somehow is missing that MySQL library, but that doesn't affect everything as we.
No, you're right. See, so I should go out of this.
No, just continue. It's just a warning, and everything runs
Really?
as we could see. Yeah, it was there. That's not because of the MySQL library. I hope. I don't know.
It actually is that he can't find XPDO.
Yeah.
So I should.
Did you do a composer install?
He's also complaining about
Yeah,
can't find MySQL.
that's always the same. But yeah.
Okay, well, suppose, so just,
But just
doesn't matter. Let's
So
just imagine that it did work.
it's pretty easy. Just change to this window. This is running on my host system,
Oh.
and there you can use Composer as well, and then you can simply
I think if we build it now, it will work.
No, because you don't have the database.
Oh.
No, it's not running, but you can use Composer in there. But maybe it's complaining now about the maybe it's
No, nothing.
nothing's in there. So
Then I'm not sure what's happening here. But I can use my own thingy.
of course,
Yeah?
I don't know what's. So you did this checkout thing, and this is breaking everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I did. Yeah. Weird stuff. So, heading over to my, also vagrant rules. At least I have a normal keyboard now. Okay. Maybe it's better this way. Or not.
Best for TV.
That's
There's a best for TV button.
Yeah, I know, but I thought maybe I'll make it bigger by default.
Yeah,
Okay. That's nice.
Okay, cool. So this is MODX. It's the same thing Jens just showed us.
Font size.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, except for that I already got the remotes here, and you also will see Utsi right here. What was the name of your repository?
Repository or branch?
Also try this. Ah, here it is. So git checkout, and I will also force it because I'm lazy. So you will see that I'm currently with git status. I'm in the branch Utsi template picker, which means that I'm in the right branch. So there's a couple of things I should do now. I should do the composer update and install thing. It is necessary. Composer update just updates all your updates all your dependencies, and install actually makes those changes. I will disable my firewall in the meantime. What's happening here? So in this case, there apparently are new fly system updates, AWS updates. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Okay. A new XPDO version. And after this is all done, I will do composer install. After this, I will create the new build. So I'll do PHP transport core.php, and this is what you should see. And this is needed to build the new core, but it will not actually do anything unless you run the setup. So I will run the setup again, which is just next. Install. Yes. Never delete your setup folder, just leave it there. So, also clear your cache for MODX, and do it again to make sure it's empty, because sometimes it doesn't do anything. Also clear your browser cache, and then refresh. And now you'll see something weird, because we do have the same dashboard, but this is still old. But this is the MODX 3 version when Utsi made his template picker. But Git is intelligent enough to merge this with our current repository, so that's really useful. But so what we want to see, because we want to use the preview. So I just click new document, and then we will see the preview. So yeah, it's quite nice. and I showed you that I mentioned that every template has a new field, which is this one, and you can just select anything you want, really, here. For example, if you somehow, I'm not even sure if this is going to work.
Finance with spaces.
Yeah. So it's in contact. It actually works. So we have a new preview now. Of course. Okay, so let's just do it one more time to see if you can pull this off again. So if we wanted to return to the original MODX 3 repository, then I will do, in my case I will do git branch, and then I will see all the branches which are available. But I want to go back to MODX 3x redesign, for example. So I will do git checkout, I will do force, and then I will do git status, and I will see that I'm in 3x redesign. I will do. Sometimes if you think, I have the weird feeling that I'm not up to date, then you can do git fetch and git pull. Git fetch will get all the available branches, and git pull will pull all the changes from GitHub. But I'm already up to date, so it doesn't matter. Then I will do the same thing. So first I will go to the root folder. I will do composer install. Update. Composer install. So you notice that the rewrite of everything was done after Utsi made the new template preview. Then we built a new core. And then we have to run setup again. So it's 3 steps really. Check out, update composer, build the core, well, and 4. Run setup again, 4 steps.
Can't we have a
Question?
script doing that step?
Yeah,
automatically?
sure.
There is like also a question on the live stream right now.
Yeah.
Why aren't you installing MODX via CLI with system with settings XML to get rid of this part with setting up with the browser?
That's a good idea. Yeah, there is an option to.
Because we're lazy.
Yeah.
We like clicking.
Yeah. No, but this is just my workflow, and you're right. You can use the CLI to update and install MODX, so that would be easier. I think you could even create a shell script for it, which does everything. Like, hey, what branch do you want to check out? Then it automatically builds the core and automatically updates MODX. Yeah, that would work way better.
It would help a lot for beginner guys. For the first steps for the testing and switching branches and such a stuff.
Yeah, I thought the same, but my experience told me that whenever a beginner has to touch the terminal, then it's terminal. And they will not do it.
But he has to touch the terminal as well right now.
No. I made screencast tutorials, and it doesn't matter. If the only thing to get people who are not comfortable using the terminal then is supplying a build. And what we saw is that when we supplied the build, then a lot of people started contributing, because the terminal is just not made for everybody. But we can try it. I like printing shell scripts, so yeah.
But I guess even if you have that shell script, stuff will break. So you need to will need to be confident on the command line.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're screwed up again and don't know what to do. So that might also be complicated.
And now we're back at where we were. So. But yeah, Jens is right. And also the live stream person was right that we can do this way faster. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really all I wanted to show you. Please try it yourself, and you all saw how it worked, and you can do it with the very, very, very useful Vagrant machine which Jens provided. I just need to show you one thing. What I like about our community. So if you go to GitHub right now, you see, and you wait a while. You go to pull requests and see all the activity happening here. So you see Ivan, John, Joshua, a lot of people contributing to MODX right now, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the last couple of weeks, and that's really nice to see, and I hope we can get more people to do the same. These are all fixes you're seeing. We also have issues, but what's also very valuable is, for example, this is a pull request fixing some CSS thingy from John. You can just pull this the way I showed you right now, and which I also have recorded in a screencast, which you can find on MODX3.org. If you test stuff like this and just mention like, hey, I tested this, and I can't type anymore, on PHP 7.1 and MySQL whatever, on Firefox current, and everything looked wonderful, just as expected. If you type something like this, then it's very helpful, because then one of the integrators knows, hey, this has been tested, now I can do a final check, and then I will merge it. And because integrating is a lot of work. It's not just, oh, I will just merge this with one click and then I'm fine. No, that's not how it works. So an integrator will pick a pull request which has been tested already with somebody else before testing something which hasn't been tested by somebody else. So please do the testing. And that's it. Back to you, Ben.
Thanks. Well, there are no more questions for Gauke from MODX3?
And otherwise you will, no, not really, you'll always notify me, right? Yeah.
We'll be posting links to some of these resources on either the Meetup.com page or the Colloq page, which we are currently, both channels are feeding them. We just got a new office here in the central tower of Munich, and in our new office space we have a few empty workstations. So we're looking for PHP developers or JavaScript developers, so if anyone knows anyone that's looking, we would be happy to show them the new office and maybe their new workspace. So just get a hold of us at SEDA.digital. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and appreciate it. And let's make MODX great again.
Oh no!
Bye.